Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that your entire city is gone. No ruins, no bodies, no warning, just silence. Because that is exactly what happened to some of the most powerful civilizations in human history. And if you think empires slowly fade away, think again. Because some vanished almost overnight, and historians are still afraid to admit how, why. Now listen closely, because this is not the history you were taught in school. This is the part that skipped, the part that makes people uncomfortable. Let's start with the Indus Valley civilization. One of the most advanced societies of the ancient world, perfectly planned cities, straight roads, underground drainage systems that even modern cities struggle to match, millions of people living in harmony, and then suddenly, silence, no signs of war, no burned buildings, no mass graves, just empty cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, as if the people simply stood up and walked away. But why would an entire civilization abandon everything overnight? Some say climate change. Others say rivers moved. But here's the twist. Recent studies show the climate change was slow, very slow. So why did everyone leave at once? And here's the scary part. What if they knew something was coming that we still don't understand? Now jump thousands of miles west to the Maya civilization, masters of astronomy, mathematics, and time itself. They could predict eclipses with terrifying accuracy. They built massive stone cities in the jungle, ruled by powerful kings who claimed to speak with the gods, and then, within just a few generations, their great cities were swallowed by the forest, temples abandoned, palaces empty, no final message, no clear reason. Historians say drought. But drought alone doesn't explain why kings lost power, why rituals stopped, why people lost faith in gods they had trusted for centuries. So here's the question no one likes to ask. What if the Maya saw something in the sky, something written in their calendars, something they couldn't stop, and chose to leave instead of wait? Now hold that thought, because it gets darker. Let's talk about the mysterious city of Teotihuacan, a city so massive that when the Aztecs found it centuries later, they believed gods had built it. A city of straight avenues, giant pyramids, and a population larger than ancient Rome. And then one day, parts of it were deliberately burned, statues smashed, temple destroyed from the inside, not by invaders, but by its own people, which begs a terrifying question. What makes a civilization destroy itself on purpose? Was it rebellion? Was it fear? Or was it an attempt to erase something they had created and could no longer control? Now let's go underwater, literally, to the ancient city of Dwarka, mentioned in Indian epics as the city of Krishna, a golden city swallowed by the sea, for centuries dismissed as myth, until marine archaeologists found massive stone structures beneath the ocean, perfectly cut block. Walls, streets, all underwater. And here's the unsettling part. The flooding was sudden, not gradual, meaning the sea didn't slowly rise. It rushed in fast, violent, unstoppable. So what kind of event can erase a city in hours, not centuries? And why do so many ancient cultures talk about great floods destroying advanced civilizations? Coincidence or shared memory of a forgotten catastrophe? Now let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you noticed a pattern yet? Advanced knowledge, sudden disappearance, no clear enemy, no slow decline, just gone. Now let's move to the Bronze Age collapse, around 1200 BCE, when multiple civilizations fell. Almost at the same time, the Mycenaeans, the Hittites, entire kingdoms vanished within decades. Trade networks collapsed, writing systems disappeared, cities burned, and for centuries afterward, people forgot how to read and write. History literally went dark. Historians blame sea people. But here's the problem. No one knows who they were, where they came from, or why they attacked everyone at once. And even worse, some cities show signs of abandonment before the attack, as if people were already running, already scared. Now think about this. What kind of threat does leave a clear name? What kind of enemy causes panic across continents and then vanishes itself? Now let's talk about a civilization you probably never heard of, the Cucuteni Tripilia culture in Eastern Europe. Massive settlements, some larger than ancient cities. And then something shocking, every few decades, they burned their own cities to the ground and rebuilt them over and over again. And then one day, they stopped rebuilding, they disappeared completely. No clear reason, no known invasion, just empty land where tens of thousands once lived. So here's the disturbing thought. What if some civilizations didn't collapse? What if they escaped? Now stay with me, because this is where it all connects. Ancient texts from different parts of the world talk about cycles, ages of humanity rising and falling, advanced world destroyed by fire, water, or something from the sky. Plato spoke of Atlantis, a powerful civilization destroyed in a single day and night, wiped from the earth, dismissed as fiction for centuries, until we found ancient cities underwater, advanced stonework older than we expected, maps showing ice-free Antarctica, knowledge that shouldn't exist according to official timelines. So here's the question that changes everything. What if human history is not a straight line, but a loop? Civilizations rise, reach a dangerous level of knowledge, and then something happens. A reset, natural or not, and survivors start again, forgetting what came before. Now look at our world today. Climate instability, rising seas, advanced technology, global systems that can collapse overnight. Does this story feel familiar? Because ancient civilizations may not have disappeared overnight because they were weak, but because they were warned, or because they crossed a line. And here is the final reveal that most people are not ready to hear. The real mystery is not why ancient civilizations vanished. The real mystery is why we believe we are so different, so safe, so permanent, when history itself is screaming the opposite. And if those civilizations disappeared overnight, the real question is not how, but when it will happen again, and whether we will see it coming or vanish just like they did. Now, before you think these disappearances were random accidents, let me take you deeper, because the more we look, the more uncomfortable the truth becomes. You see, ancient civilizations across the world were not isolated villages playing with stones. They were connected, trading ideas, symbols, and knowledge across oceans long before we officially admit humans could do that. And that changed everything. For example, similar flood myths appear in Sumer, India, Mesoamerica, and even among Native American tribes. Different languages, different continents, yet the same story, advanced people. A great warning and a sudden destruction. And here's the twist. Historians hate, myths usually exaggerate, but when the same detail repeat globally, it stops looking like fiction and starts looking like memory. Now let's go back to Sumer, the so-called cradle of civilization. The first cities, the first writing, the first laws. And according to their own tablets, civilization did not begin with humans figuring things out slowly. It was given to them by the Anunnaki, beings who descended from the sky and taught humans agriculture, mathematics, and kingship. Scholars say it's metaphor, but then explain why Sumerian king lists mention rulers who lived for tens of thousands of years before a great flood reset the world. And after that flood, suddenly civilization restarts, simpler, weaker, limited, almost like survivors rebuilding from scraps. Now pause for a second. Why would the earliest civilization already talk about a lost advanced age behind them? That alone should make you uneasy. Now jump to ancient Egypt, a civilization that appears almost fully formed at the very beginning. Precise stone cutting, massive monuments, complex religious systems, and then something strange. Later, Egyptians themselves said their knowledge came from a much older time, a time of the gods, and even more disturbing, the Great Pyramid shows signs of water erosion, meaning heavy rainfall. Something Egypt hasn't experienced for thousands of years, pushing its origins further back than official history allows. So here's the question: who built it, and what happened to them? Now let's move to South America, where massive stone structures like Pumapunku exist. Stones cut with impossible precision, weighing over 100 tons, fitted together so perfectly a blade can't slide between them. And yet the civilization credited with these sites, the Inca, openly said they did not build them. They only found them already ancient, abandoned, and Seika. So who was there before, and why did they vanish without leaving a trace? Now notice the pattern again: advanced construction, astronomical alignment, sudden disappearance. Now let's talk about Göbekli Tepe, a site in Turkey that completely shattered our understanding of history. Officially dated to over 11,000 years ago, built by hunter-gatherers, or so we're told. But hunter-gatherers weren't supposed to organize massive stone temples, carve complex symbols, or understand cosmic cycles. Yet there it is, and here's the most disturbing part. It was deliberately buried, not destroyed. Buried carefully, pillar by pillar, as if someone wanted to hide it, preserve it, or protect future generations from it. So ask yourself, what knowledge is dangerous enough to be buried by its own creators? Now let's zoom out and connect the dots. Many ancient sites are aligned with stars, not just randomly, but precisely, often pointing to the same constellation. Especially during ancient time cycles like the Younger Dryas, a period around 12,800 years ago when Earth experienced sudden climate chaos, massive flooding, rising seas, and extinctions. Now here's where it gets chilling. Scientists now acknowledge evidence of a cosmic impact, possibly a comet or meteor shower, that could have triggered global disaster. And suddenly those ancient flood myths don't sound symbolic anymore. They sound like eyewitness accounts. Now imagine this: an advanced global civilization existing before this kata, Strophe, watching the sky, understanding cycles, seeing the warning signs. Some try to save knowledge in stone, some flee to higher ground, some go underground, some disappear completely. And after the disaster, survivors rebuild, simpler, broken, and over generations, the memory of what came before turns into myth, legend, religion. Now, let me ask you something personal. Why are we so sure this has never happened before, just because we don't want to believe it? Because believing it means admitting that progress does not guarantee survival. Now let's talk about the Library of Alexandria, not a civilization, but a symbol, a place that allegedly stored the collected knowledge of the ancient world, maps, science, engineering, histories from lost ages. And then it burned, whether once or many times. The result was the same. Humanity lost something irreplaceable. And after that, technological progress slowed, fragmented, almost like humanity had its memory erased. Now think about this. How many other libraries burned without names? How many stone records eroded by floods? How many coastlines now underwater hiding in time? Cities we haven't even discovered yet. Now here's the emotional twist. Ancient people were not stupid. They were not primitive. They were us. Same brains, same curiosity, same ambition, and maybe the same blind spots. They built systems that worked until they didn't. They trusted stability until stability vanished overnight. Now let's bring this closer to home. Modern civilization is more connected than ever. Supply chains, power grids, satellites. One major global shock, and everything stops. Food, water, communication, order, and ancient collapses show us that complex systems don't fail slowly. They fail suddenly. Now remember how many ancient cities show no signs of long decline, just abandonment, like people left in a hurry, meals unfinished, tools left behind, doors never closed. That's not a slow collapse, that's panic. Now here's the part that most documentaries avoid. Some ancient legends say a few survived and became the teachers of the new world, bearded gods arriving by sea, bringing agriculture, laws, and astronomy. Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha, Oans, different names, same description, survivors of a lost world. Now you might think this is fantasy, but ask yourself, if a global catastrophe wiped out most of humanity today, wouldn't a few scientists, engineers, and sailors survive? And wouldn't future generations see them as gods? Now let's pause here, because the real danger of this story is not ancient history. It's the mirror it holds up to us. Because if civilization before us vanished overnight despite their knowledge, power, and belief that they were chosen or protected, then the most dangerous assumption we can make is believing we are immune. And here's the quiet, unsettling truth. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it rhymes. And ancient civilizations didn't disappear because they were foolish. They disappear because the world can change faster than any civilization can adapt. And part 3 will reveal the final and most disturbing possibility that some of these civilizations may not have vanished at all, but went somewhere we stopped looking.